You're watching the Original Music Podcast with your hosts Raymond Hems and Rick Gathman.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, tonight, this episode, we've got Jackson Heaton. And I met Jackson Heaton pre-pandemic a few years ago doing an interview at a radio station here in Atlanta where he had an amazing show called Homebrew where he showcased local original talent. It was amazing. And he had us on. And Jackson, good to have you. This is Rick Gathman. I'm Ray Hems. Thank you for coming on tonight. How are you?
Rick, I'm doing fantastic. I had told y'all before we started. So my wife brought home the best steak sandwich, and this is why my fingers were greasy. She brought home the best steak sandwich and fries I have ever had in my life. It was this. We found out we all kind of live close to each other in Cumming.
Yep.
Right.
And you know the Cumming City Center that just opened up, right?
Yep.
And so my wife, she's in insurance, so she was out with one of her brokers getting her nails done. And there's this place called Tin Cup right there in Cumming City Center.
Okay.
This steak sandwich was probably the best thing I've ever eaten in my life.
Wow. That is amazing.
But the fries make you drop your phone.
Yeah.
Yes. It did take a tumble.
Slippery fries.
That's how you know they're good.
Yeah,
well, yeah,
totally agree.
For sure. So, a few years have gone by. We've had this amazing thing called the pandemic that everybody went through, and but you have since left the radio DJ thing, and what we wanted to do, since we're focused on original music, not just in Atlanta but all across the country, was kind of get your take from that side. We've talked to club owners, we've talked to promoters and bands, and I just wanted to kind of get your take on, how can a local original music band, if they're pro level polished, if they're good, how in the world can they make it and get some airplay on terrestrial radio?
How can local bands?
Yeah, local or unsigned independents.
Well, like the way we get around that and the way we bring local music to life and bring it to people that may not otherwise hear it, because as we talked about before, going to live shows isn't what it was pre-pandemic in a lot of ways. And it's taken a lot of people time to get back out there and go see shows. But shows like I had on Rock 100.5 Homebrew, that's really how it's done. I mean, other than you're talking about, trying to get local bands on terrestrial radio in Atlanta, a top 10 radio market, versus, some of these smaller markets and smaller towns. And a lot of them, even they have things like Homebrew where they have locals only shows. But the benefit that we had, or that I had on Rock 100.5, was that I was able to play that weekdays, in a great time slot. And that way more people are going to hear it than what most terrestrial radio stations, their local only shows, usually, air on like Sunday night at 8 or even later, or they may only play one or two songs during that show of a local band. I had the privilege on Rock 100.5 of playing a band's best song, what they thought was their best. And of course, Hope's Anchor had, great songs on that show. And I got so many great emails about it, feedback. I mean, we were able to bring the best of Atlanta in a prime time slot. And the best song from that band every night of the week, that's a win.
Yeah, it was every night, wasn't it?
Yeah, every night, Monday through Friday. We didn't do it on the weekends.
Right.
But Monday through Friday. And, as a huge supporter of the Atlanta rock scene, of Atlanta's rock ambassador.
Yes, you are.
And before I even got on the air, got my night show with Rock 100.5 and had Homebrew, I had a podcast called the Scope Podcast. And that's how I started out when I was doing overnights on the station. Was, I would have bands in, interview them, because I went to a couple shows and I'm like, the talent here is amazing. Why am I not hearing about where bands are playing or who these bands are or getting to know their personalities? And so I started the podcast and it blew up really quickly. And that was just that was just me having fun as a single guy in his 20s,
Right.
Was going and doing that and emceeing gigs till like 2 a.m. And then when I approached my then program director, I'm like, listen, I've got a pretty good following here in the Atlanta rock scene. I have some influence of some kind, or, where I'm going out and meeting these bands, calling them friends. And he finally gave me the okay for what would become Homebrew.
Right.
And dude, that is career wise, Homebrew was the greatest win I have ever had in my 12 plus year radio career.
Wow.
Was bringing y'all's music to people that may have otherwise not heard it.
Never hear it. Yeah. And did you coin the show Homebrew? Is that yours?
It was a collaboration of like me, my program director, and a couple other people.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was just so excited to have it on the air. I don't even remember who came up with it.
Yeah, or care, right?
So what happened to it?
Did y'all ever? I don't know. A lot of people didn't know when I did overnights on Rock 100.5. I was doing midnight to 6 a.m. And I did have a not local show, but a brand new rock show when we were mostly kind of classic rock and, not playing a bunch of new stuff. It aired from 2 to 2:15 a.m. It consisted of 3 songs. You had like, the 3 Days Graces, the new Godsmack, the new Slipknot, whatever. And it was called Jackson's Load.
Oh, jeez. And who coined that one?
Yeah.
I don't know that I want to know.
You got that one, huh? All right.
They went with it and they thought it was edgy. And so like
it's a little edgy.
You what?
It's a little edgy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would come into the show, like intro, and be like, the voice guy would be like, it's time for you to get your dose of Jackson's Load.
Well, that's, and Atlanta has a rich history of having edgy rock stations.
Yeah.
A nice long history. I've been here since '95, so I've seen a lot of it come and go. And, it's, I might be biased because I'm from here, but I think Atlanta used to have the best rock radio, terrestrial radio, in the country. But, that's
and I think a lot of that has to do with the rock they were playing at the time and the influence it had on the culture at the time. Like, I feel like nowadays, and maybe it's just me, but your new Godsmack, your new Shinedown, your new Five Finger Death Punch, stuff like that. It's good music that you enjoy, right? Like you love listening to it. Maybe it makes you bang your head. Maybe it makes you pick up a guitar and try to learn something. But like when you talk about like the '90s and stuff, and like what 99X was playing in the '90s, it just, because there wasn't so much access to the world, if that makes sense. Like you didn't have a phone on you all the time. You weren't, you didn't have a computer on your phone. You were just so involved in the moment. I think that's why terrestrial radio, like back in the day, was so good, because they lived their lives through the music, right? Or, a new song they were hearing on the radio. And I just think the different times and the technology we have available today and how busy our minds are with everything, you hear a good song, it's good, and maybe you want to see it live, but it doesn't really go much beyond that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think every city had that one radio station. I don't think it's just Atlanta, because like St. Louis had KC95, Cincinnati's got WEBN. They all got that one rock station that kept the motor running.
Yeah.
And
you got to have your good local rock station.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, and a question I have, and that I don't know that side of the business is, haven't, at least in the 2000s to current, isn't essentially the rock station that's in this city is basically satellite beamed in to the rock station in Tampa or the rock station in, is it not the same programming essentially, or are there still choices of local did they call you guys DJs still, or what's
is
it up to,
I think more of the term right now is radio personality in a lot of ways. I would have given anything to be a DJ in like the 80s and like
Yes.
spin actual records
Yeah.
and like being live constantly.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I would have loved that. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I came into radio in the automated era 12 years, like 13 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would have loved that.
Yeah.
I would have
And
loved that.
how did you get into that business? How'd you get into that?
So every man in my family has been a doctor.
Wow.
And I come
Dr.
from a
Heaton.
long line of well-respected physicians. And then my brother, when he became of age, he was like, "No, I want to go into finance." And they're like, "All right, that's good. That's cool. You want to still going to make money and all that." And then I go to college and I wanted to be a doctor, right? I wanted to be a doctor right away. And then I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon like my grandfather.
Yeah.
And I went to college, and I come from a very small town, Blairsville in North Georgia.
Oh yeah.
And grew up with the same people, graduated with the same people, always knew the same people, right? And
Mhm.
like, life outside of Blairsville, there wasn't much. Like, we went to Panama City on spring break, which Panama City is like a small town in Georgia, just on the beach.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And
Without a Club La Vila.
Yeah. Club La
There wasn't
Vila.
like Club La Vila,
Yeah,
yes.
I played there.
Have you really?
Oh, yeah.
1998.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
La Vila, and then the
Right.
one next door to it. Yeah.
Yeah, Spinnakers.
Yeah. Spinnaker.
I bet in '98 y'all had some crazy stuff going on in the audience.
They were still shooting MTV in the pool.
Yeah.
They still had I don't even know what the show was called, but it was going on while we were there, and they had a tower. They took us up and interviewed us. We played there with the Velcro Pygmies.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Wow.
yeah. It was life was better back in the 90s and
Yes,
80s.
it was.
I have to say.
It was.
I was born in '89, so
Okay.
I graduated in '87. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, me too. So you were going to be a doctor. You're going to be an orthopedic doctor from Blairsville. And what happened?
And so I had it set in my mind, and then I go to Young Harris College,
Yep, I
right
know
there.
that.
Yeah, and there were 600 students on campus, and it turns out my wife and I were there at the same time for a year and never met each other, even though we had a lot of the same friends, and then met 10 years later.
Wow, that's wild. That is wild.
Crazy.
And so I go to college and I'm meeting all these people from around the country, around the world, right? And I'm just getting like enthralled in it, coming from a small North Georgia town. And I got into partying a little bit. I liked the campfire beers and barely being awake for class.
Yeah.
And midterms come and I've got like 3 F's and a D.
Yeah, nice.
And my dad sends me this message, this long text, just like yelling at me.
Yeah.
He's like, "How do you expect to get into medical school with these kinds of grades?" And so, I slapped myself a few times. I get back in there and I'm like, "All right, got to get serious, man. These F's and D's are going to become A's."
Yeah.
By the time first semester ended, it was 2 D's and 2 F's. And so I was like, all right, this is out of the question. I'm not going to be able to go to medical school.
Yeah.
And I'd always been a sports fan, and I love sports statistics and all that. So I was like, and I remember my dad and we'd go to a lot of Hawks games when I was younger. Like, it was kind of our father-son thing until I went to college, and we would sit right behind the Hawks bench, like right behind them, 5 feet from the players, and some of my fondest memories ever.
Right.
And I was like, I think I want to go into sports radio. And so I ended up, my first job in radio was doing college baseball play-by-play for the Young Harris College baseball team. Knowing about sports and trying to talk about sports, especially live,
real
two
time.
Different things.
Yeah,
and I accidentally said the F word on my first broadcast ever.
Yes. That's awesome.
And then, as the story goes for so many people, I followed a girl down to Athens. And I was going to Gainesville State because my grades were still horrible.
Wow.
And somehow Gainesville State let me in. But my boss at the station I was at, I got pretty decent at play-by-play by the end of the season. And so I actually ended up getting a job doing college or UGA college football and basketball play-by-play for the radio station I was working for.
Okay, so you got a job at like a college radio station in Athens?
No, this was a full-on radio station.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I was doing actual radio while I was taking college courses on radio.
That's awesome, dude.
And I'm the youngest person to have done that at in Athens. I actually called the games for because I started doing it when I was 19 and did it till I was 21. And it was so much fun. I'd go to the press conferences with, Coach Rick and all that, be asking questions, interviewing players, and then like sitting up in the press box at Sanford Stadium, 19 and 20 years old, and calling the games for the station there. It was unreal experience. So my Saturday in Athens were, tailgating with my buddies before the UGA game, then calling the games, and then going downtown with those buddies.
Yeah.
Wow. So you would tailgate and then go call the game?
I'd have a couple beers. I'd have one or two.
Seems like it'd go the other way around, but that's all right.
Yeah. And all
not enough to where I couldn't I'd have a beer or two. It was mostly just to hang out with friends, but and then you what?
I was just gonna say, have you guys ever seen that guy? It's all over Facebook where you see the stupid little videos where the guy goes, "Holy shit, that just went right up his,"
like Bob Menery. I think Bob Menery. Yeah,
I love that
cracks
guy.
me up every time.
So that guy. When I hear that, those that don't know who that is, it's almost like what was the baseball game with just a bit outside?
Yeah, just a bit outside.
An R-rated or non-rated sportscasting network for all sports.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting there on TV anyway.
No,
why not sports?
I mean, like I think that would be
that was a fucking strike.
So almost like the podcast world is happening now, where it's not FCC. Is it FCC compliance that you have?
Yeah, I mean, now you can say whatever you want. Look at
podcasts. Yeah,
look at JR.
I mean, you can't use licensed music on a podcast.
Yeah, you get dinged for certain things, right?
Yeah, but you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Whatever the fuck you want, right?
But like a sportscast network. That's a podcast. That's where you run into the glitch, is being able to actually broadcast, stream the game, and call it live, and be able to say whatever you want. That I think would be a absolute moneymaker.
It would be hilarious. The problem is,
are you talking about
it's a family
that is doing live play-by-play?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. A live podcast play-by-play.
Oh, a podcast. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So a podcast version of it.
That's licensed to do the Savannah Bananas games or the Gwinnett Braves, whatever they are. He might have to start minor league, but I think that we are all grown up enough here to watch somebody like Bob Menery call a game.
I see what you're saying. It'd be what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
How are you joking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be great, dude. I would sit and watch every game I could.
Yeah.
I could go down a wormhole with watching Bob Menery. But you know what I also love? I love the Manning brothers on Monday Night Football.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they are the two most boring. Okay, you got Eli, who's like the most boring guy ever. And then you got Peyton, who's just like, he's got a little excitement to him, just enough to be quirky and funny, but somehow it works.
Yeah. Well, you got to watch out for the Tony Romos, because he dropped an F-bomb, I think, on Monday Night Football.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Or said something.
I'm sure
it is easier to do than you think. It is way easier, because like me on the radio, when I'm live on the radio and I've got an intro to a song and I'm like, to Godsmack, I Stand Alone, or something like that, right?
Right.
And it's in my earphones and I hear it so loud in my ear, because you want to hear the music to get you amped up and all that. And then when you start talking, it's almost like you black out a little bit.
Right.
Like you're just rolling. Because the I Stand Alone intro, it just makes you want to just rage every time.
Yeah.
And so I'll sometimes get done with a break like that and take my headphones off and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I say?
Right.
What did I say?
Whoopsie.
I'm almost expecting a call from my boss being like, why the did you just say that?
Right.
Go to the principal's office.
Now, in this situation like that, do you get called to the principal's office, or how does that work? There's no taking it back, right? There's no 5-second delay.
There is a delay, yeah.
I mean, there is, but sometimes you like, this is why most, like, your morning shows, why you never hear them, like, they're cursing and all that, because they are on mics and then they have a board op or producer right there at the controls that is listening for that intently and is like, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's so much harder when you're the one talking and you're the one also handling the controls, because you could say the F word at the beginning of the break and then get to the end of it, and you've gone 30 seconds way past your window,
right?
And you don't even realize it. It's weird, and it's something a lot of people don't think about it, especially like in anything where you have to watch your language. It's just easy to do.
Well, it's something where it's just one of those jobs where you have to have a filter and know how to use it. When to turn it on and when to turn it off. I mean, it can be done. Ray and I have both done it. We just doing this. You know what I mean? We can both fucking stop if we want.
Yeah.
But we don't.
That was a joke, by the way.
You what?
That was a joke, by the way. But we can, you know what I mean? We can do podcasts with a preacher and not, say one foul word.
Right.
No problem. But I get what you're saying. Like when you're on air and you're kind of in the moment, and that's a lot more kind of under pressure job than what we're doing.
Well, I think it's also, though, also like right now there's three of us essentially in a room together, where he's here, you're on my monitor in front of me, we're having a conversation. You're doing the radio personality DJ gig. It's you in a room alone, right? So essentially you have to self-monitor, what you're saying, whereas when I go to full screen on Jackson here, he and I are giving hand signals like, dude, don't do that. Don't do shut up. That kind of thing. There's at least an editor of sorts.
Yeah, like, I mean, a lot of shows, like your morning shows, you obviously have a lot of people in there. Or, I mean, some afternoon shows will have a producer, but like me and Lindsay Marie, who was our midday girl, like, we were both just us in the studio. So, and then you're trying to do social posts and you're trying to do videos for the station, Facebook and Instagram. Like, there's just a lot of things going through your mind that you're like, oh, I got to keep up with this. Oh, I got tickets to give away in 30 minutes. Let me put out a post to make sure you're listening. Let me do a video to make sure you're listening. And then you start prepping for your next break. And then it's just so easy to be in your head and to forget what you're saying a lot of the time.
So, and this is just a geeky question from me, because I've always kind of been interested in that world. There's more to it than this showing up. Oh, I wanted to go back to, you went to school to be a doctor of orthopedics, but you ended up being Dr. Johnny Fever, right?
Johnny Fever. Hey, I grew up in Cincinnati, so I know who Johnny Fever is.
But anyway, as far as being a host of a show on the radio, terrestrial or otherwise, it's not just go and do your 4-hour block on air. Talk about, like you were just talking about, cutting promos and doing ads and commercials. What does a normal day of a DJ encompass?
Oh man, so we're just always looking at Blabbermouth, Loudwire. We're reading. We have specific show prep sites that are just for radio people. That people are hired to put these stories together for us, and we'll see what's going on. Like, we're just constantly reading the news and seeing what's going on. So we'll wake up in the morning, like me, my night show. I can't speak to other people,
sure,
but for me, wake up and work out and stuff like that. I don't know how to speak because I had such an easy shift.
Yeah.
And I had so much time during the day. So I'll do whatever I have to do during the day.
Right.
Whatever that may be. And then say at noon, I will, start looking at stuff and, start going over all my prep sites, see what's going on, jot some things down. And then about 2 or 3 o'clock, I would go into the station and, do other station stuff that I needed to do. But, spend a lot of time prepping. A lot more prep goes into our shows than a lot of people may realize. Some people just think we're just, turning on the mic and speaking. You got to look what songs you have in your show and then prep accordingly. And then I would prep and then I'd get on the air at 7 and I would be, maybe I had a commercial to cut for, the next week, a sponsor that I had, was endorsing, and I needed to cut commercials for them. I needed to do some station promo recordings.
Yeah, that's the stuff I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I had tickets coming up this week, so I got to make sure to post on social that, hey, got your so-and-so tickets coming up at 7:30. So it's so busy, even in the automated world. Like, I can't even really imagine what being a DJ in the 80s and actually having to, put CDs in or tapes in, whatever. I can't even imagine that.
Hey.
So it's busy, but for me, radio always came down to what the person was experiencing. Were they laughing? Were they put in a better mood? Were they hearing a song and just absolutely loved it, whether it was a big band or a homebrew band?
Right. I wanted to look this up. What year do you think the last year that DJs actually spun records? Vinyl.
It had to be in the 90s. And oh my gosh.
What a crazy question.
Yeah. Can you look that up real quick?
I'm trying.
That is an amazing question, Ray.
The last year that they spun records.
Oh man, it actually may be the 2000s.
I think it's earlier than that. Yeah, I think it's back.
I think it's earlier.
The Wolfman Jackson, that kind of thing.
No, it wasn't that long ago.
LPs?
I'm gonna go 90. I'm gonna go 96.
Okay, he's looking that up. Coming from an artist, making songs, writing songs. These days, I don't care. I don't have a label telling me what to do, so I'm writing 5 and 7 and 8 minute songs. What is the sweet spot of radio for songs to be released on radio?
Well, really kind of the aim I went for on homebrew was I didn't program our music. I can't speak to that a lot because I wasn't in charge of programming music and dealing with record labels. I just did my show. But on homebrew, anything really kind of over 4.5 minutes was a little too long.
Okay, 4.5 is long. 3.5, 3:45 is probably sweet spot.
That's a great length. Like that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, like for homebrew, more so the length of the song was more important than the song to a lot of people. Not to me.
Yeah, right.
But the way a lot of people looked at it, like the people that okayed me to put those songs on there.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of us as artists kind of get wrapped up in that world of, well, we got to say what we got to say in a certain amount of time, and it's gotten us nowhere. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just writing for myself. But what you got? What you come up with?
Well, what did you say? What was
the last year?
No. What was your answer?
Oh, I think 79.
What was yours?
96.
Okay, it's mid 80s.
Really? What year?
Yeah, it just says mid 80s. It doesn't give you a definite.
So vinyl
switched over to CDs in the mid 80s.
Wow.
Skipped over the whole cassette thing, huh?
Yeah, I mean that's what it says. It just says they went from records to CDs.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a legit thing. So, can you take us then, Jackson, from how was in your time in the past 12, 13 years, how is it's all digital now? Like, is it MP3s? Is it waves? Is it what bit rate? Like, is it just stacks of MP3s in an order you're supposed to play them? How does this work?
All our music is loaded on to a program, so we can see it all on the screen.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, our program director does, amazing jobs of, picking the music, picking where every song goes. So we kind of see everything in on the computer. It's really easy. Like, we see where we have to talk, we see where the commercials are running, but some DJs have their own personal music beds or talk beds they use. So we still have CD players for that, and you'll load that in, but everything's pretty automated, and we do have some systems where we can record in and edit. I don't know how much the listener is gonna really care about,
Yeah.
how we see our stuff, because I can't really do an amazing job of explaining it
Yeah.
without like showing it.
Yeah. Well,
it's intricate, it's complex, and easy at the same time.
Right. Because my listening ear on the other side. So I'm the guy on the other side. I've only done interviews in studio and kind of saw what you guys are working with, but it all seems very seamless and smooth and worked out and clean.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, but I mean, glitches happen, things go wrong, and things go wrong all the time.
All right.
Like,
worst glitch. What was your worst malfunction live on the radio?
Yeah.
I was running. So the guy who was doing afternoons at Rock 100.5 at the time, he was doing a live broadcast, and this was like 4:45, right? And during the day, so prime time listening, absolute prime time. And I'm running this broadcast, and I accidentally learned afterwards that I had the station off air for 3 minutes.
Just dead air.
Danger,
Just
Will
dead air
Robinson.
for 3 minutes. And calls started coming in, and I took a bash.
Yeah,
I took a bash. And so that may be the worst, or the first broadcast I ever did in radio, I said the F word.
Yeah.
And that was bad.
That's happened. I've heard that happen in. I know I mentioned Cincinnati and St. Louis, and I lived in California for a while, but all the stations that I latched onto, I've heard that in every station.
Yeah.
Well,
there's been dead air happen in every station.
Oh, about cussing. I thought you were about to say a cussing thing.
Oh no,
I've
heard that a couple of times, but
is that you can say whatever you want on the radio, even on terrestrial radio. I can say F word, 3 times in a row. The only way you get in trouble for it is if someone complains to the FCC and then they investigate.
Yeah. Oh,
gotcha.
So, okay, that's
so what happens after that?
After that, they would come in and they would just investigate and go through your server to hear, they would ask the person, be like, all right, what time did you hear it, on what day? Yeah. And then the FCC would come in and they would go into our servers and be like, all right, 4:45 on Thursday, March 13th. And
they're investigating a cuss word.
Slapped with a fine.
Right.
So slapped with a fine is what happens.
Yes.
There's no firing or you're.
I mean, people can get fired for that for sure. If they cost,
if it keeps going.
If they cost a radio station $10,000, they can be fired.
Yeah. Well, we've seen fines get people fired here recently.
Yeah,
haven't we?
I'm this close to firing Ray.
I know. I mean, I don't even know why I'm here. Well, that's interesting, Jackson. That all that stuff. So everything is being recorded at all times, and that's probably like law or something on those servers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, everything has to be recorded, and because we have servers that catch it all.
Yeah. Be radio anarchy.
Yeah. Well, it would be XM radio. Which now
actually,
I would like to talk about. We've been talking terrestrial radio, and I'd like to now talk about, satellite radio changed the game. I'm not sure what year that was, but
Howard Stern, I think.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm taking y'all with me. I have to pour more wine if we're talking about that.
Okay, come on with it.
You got to do what?
Pour some more wine.
Oh, okay. I'll just make sure we were going pee because I was gonna go. I was gonna say, hey man, I got to go too. So Howard Stern kind of pushed the envelope back in the radio days.
Yep.
and then XM radio came out, and he switched over to that. So, and that made that whole thing uh, kind of more cool, where people were willing to pay to be able to hear somebody just say what they want to say, or say what they
Well,
wanted to say without getting in
Howard
trouble.
Stern really changed everything.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we all watched his terrestrial radio show when, it was also filmed, and he just towed the line enough, and sometimes crept over it.
Oh, he did
But
stuff that offended me, believe it or not. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wow, I
But
mean,
none of it was illegal. None of
Yeah.
it was against
I
the
don't want to
rules.
see. I don't want to see midgets doing anal ring toss. Which
But
they did,
and you could never get away with
God.
that today. You could
No,
never get
and
away
he got
with
away with it in the 2000. Like it was, what was it?
It was 2004 when Howard Stern went to when he went to satellite radio.
Okay, because during 9/11.
Yep, 2001.
I remember listening to him, and that's when all that stuff was going on. And
Yep.
I'm like, I'm working, going, I cannot believe it. I'm hearing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He went through a phase of getting fined, and we're talking $100,000 fines.
Yeah.
And then you probably know more about the story, but then he says, "Screw it, I'm going to satellite," and
do my own
signs
thing.
$100 million deal.
Right.
And now look at him.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when my family and I were going on vacation at the time, satellite radio had just really come out and was starting to kind of find its way into people and convince them to get away from terrestrial radio, because it was like no commercials and it was like say whatever you want. And the thing about Howard Stern is that he was edgy enough with his content, but not his words, because obviously there was some stuff he couldn't say. Like,
right. Yeah.
You can have audio of people doing things, but if they're not
right
saying the F word or this or that, it's okay.
Right.
Like the Sibian that he used to have, and I'm sorry if this is too far. The Sibian, he used to have girls come in on his show, and it's not against the law for you to hear moaning on the radio or all that. That's how he got away with it.
That's what I'm saying. He used to say, "Oh, all right, stick it in." He's tossing the ring. I mean, it was literally called anal ring toss, and I'm listening.
But
to this
none of that's against the rules,
right?
How is that? I mean, no, I understand then, but it was like back then it blew me away. And it's like, how did they get away with that?
Yeah, loopholes.
You know how much people at that time, the way the world was at that time, people hearing his show being like, oh, he's got all these listeners. I want to advertise with him. I want
Ratings.
him to rep my company. I want him to wear my clothing or use my product.
Yeah.
Like, because he was reaching perverted men in a lot of ways that, buy stuff. Or, I mean, it was just genius. And it was, like I said, it could never be replicated further. It could never be done. But it was like that Howard Stern had the like 1 in quadrillion billion chances.
Yeah,
like he was just that guy that had it at the time.
He was the pioneer that pushed it to the point to where it made a lot of people a lot of money until finally somebody said, "Look, this is enough. This can't keep going on."
And then he made more money by switching over.
Right.
But you had your Opie and Anthony's. I mean, you had other. The term shock jock was kind of coined on morning shows.
But do you remember what were the two guys that were partners that had a radio show?
Regular guys
that were funny as hell.
A lot of them.
Yeah, there were two.
Are you talking about Atlanta radio?
I'm talking about St. Louis when I knew them, but they were nationwide.
Syndicated.
Yeah.
Opie and Anthony, probably.
No. Bob and Tom.
Okay.
The Bob and Tom show. Have you heard of Bob and Tom show? They've had like the best of the best comedians on the show.
Yeah.
And they had musical they make up songs that are anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a litany of morning shows, shock jock type things. and you bring something up that's pretty interesting, is that a lot of them were having the comics that were in town coming on the show, the morning show, either typically I would say the day of the show that they're going to do, and come on and just have just a yuck in the morning. Is that how morning shows typically had worked in the past?
I've never been a part of a morning show.
You don't like mornings?
I've never done a morning show. I mean, money talks.
Yeah,
money
sure.
Talks, do a morning show, but you got to pay the bills, right? You got
Right.
a kid.
Well, that's why I knew all the morning shows, because I had to get up early.
Cost of a mortgage payment.
Yeah. No. Hey, we're well aware of what things are costing these days.
We're musicians. Come on.
It's insane. So
no. So I've only done. I was the go-to afternoon fill-in. So I did afternoons. I've done middays, but mornings is the one that has always eluded me. So one day.
Yeah. Well, let's go into what have you been doing? You've kind of moved on to another chapter in your career. You got married during the pandemic and had a kid.
Oh, congratulations.
So congratulations on both those. Well done.
He just turned 1 yesterday.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Oh, man, there's nothing I love more than being a dad. My living room right now is just full of baby stuff, like baby toys.
Fantastic.
And I love it.
Yeah, of course you do.
Like, I was when I first became Atlanta's Rock Ambassador, I was emceeing concerts almost every other night till 2 a.m. And waking up barely awake to go to do my show the next day. And this is better.
Oh yeah,
this is better.
Way better.
I missed out on that. I'm 54 years old. I missed out on all of that because I was too busy trying to get signed and be a rock star, and in the midst.
You look like you're 35.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that bullshit.
Handsome,
but I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink anymore. I'm 17 years sober. I broke my back in '98 and was paralyzed and blah blah blah. But anyway, I missed out on all of that because of the path that I chose. And now, God brought me my wife that I'm with now, who's
stepkids,
keeps me straight. And I've got 4 of the best children in my life that are, adults now. But they all 5 straighten me out.
So my question for you on this topic is, have you stepped on a Lego yet?
Dude, if I turn the camera around and figured out how to do the unfiltered background, I step on toys all the time, but no Legos yet.
No Legos yet.
But I'm stepping on stuff constantly.
Yeah.
And under our couch, I've got a massive Scarface style couch, right? And I'm finding stuff under it all the time that my son has thrown under there. Yeah. I even spent 15 minutes one day looking for my keys because I remember.
I saw that post. You had posted something like, "Well, hey, day in parenting. I can't find my keys because my son had them last time I saw them."
You had to call in sick that day. Hey, I don't know what to do. They just tell. These days they say you better call an Uber.
Yeah. I mean, you can get there somehow.
Not up and coming. You know how long it takes to get an Uber and Lyft here in Cumming?
Yeah.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Well, or how much it would cost? You'd be working for free that day, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like $130 last time I Ubered back from State Farm Arena back to Cumming.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's interesting about the ride shares. I did something similar. I rode down. It was like $45, $50 to go all the way downtown. But then when I was leaving downtown and there was this, the capacity, the price goes up with supply and demand.
Yeah.
So coming back, it was like $100, like you were saying. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I don't remember what I ended up doing, but I was not happy about it at all.
Dude, the amount of meat and eggs I eat, I am spending so much. I mean, and now the shepherd is also, he loves anything meat or eggs. Like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And
hey, at least eggs are coming down in price.
Are they?
Man.
Eggs coming down?
Yes.
finally?
But meat, man,
Yeah.
I buy like 30 pounds at a time.
Wow.
What, you should buy a cow. Why don't you buy a cow?
I
And get a freezer in your garage.
To me, why would I just go buy a cow?
No, like
No, I'm dead serious.
No,
My
you get a side. You buy a half a cow butchered.
we split it. My
Yeah.
wife and I and our kids split getting a cow, and it's the best meat
Yeah.
you can get. It's better than anything you can buy in a grocery store.
This is true.
But does it stay in the freezer? I mean, does it
Yes.
taste good even being
It's
in the freezer?
amazing.
Yeah.
It's the best hamburger I've ever had in my entire
Well,
life.
hamburger you need to stay away from anywhere. But
No, the hamburger from the cows that we buy is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
The steaks are incredible. The anything, all of it. It's all.
Where do you buy from?
I mean, you can find any private person that
farm.
a farm that
Yeah.
that does that specifically.
Well, I used to buy from a farm in Araby, and they would go to the farmers market at Avondale Estates, and I was buying from this grass-fed, grass-finished farm in Araby, Marview Farms, and it was delicious. But then we move all the way out to Cumming, and I'm like, I'm not driving all the way down.
I'll
to
hook
the
you up. I'll hook you up with the information we have with the people we
Yeah,
get
yeah,
it
yeah.
from. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it if I didn't honestly truly believe it. It's the
Is
best.
it Gazaway Farms by any chance?
No.
I honestly cannot answer that because my wife and the kids take care of it and they split it. I just pull it out of the freezer and let it thaw.
Well, I can give you a tip from the Cumming area. Do you know Coal Mountain? Coal Mountain Butchery is right there at an intersection. There used to be a building supply on one side and the butcher shop right there. That would be a place to get.
I buy from Wilkes, Ferguson's, or Leonard's.
Yeah. Okay. So you got some spots. So
Yeah, but I've been trying to find some better grass-fed because I prefer grass-fed over
yeah.
grain. And I know this is completely off topic, so
Not really.
No,
'cause
it's all good.
We're actually
I'm
heading.
texting my wife as we speak
Yeah.
to find out where we get ours.
We're actually going to go into from here why you're eating all this meat and what you're doing now. So continue on. What is the difference between grass-fed and grain-fed, taste-wise, or is it protein-wise?
There's no comparison between grain-fed versus grass-fed. And you have your people that don't care, but then you have people that are like, so some of your eggs, your chicken eggs,
Yeah.
they're fed corn and soy, which may not be on an animal-based or carnivore diet. And a lot of them are fed grain during their life. And that's when you see pasture raised,
Yeah.
a lot of times that means they may be grass-fed or grass-finished, but the other side is either pasture-raised or pasture-finished with grain. And so they eat grass their entire life.
Right.
And it's much cleaner, and it is delicious.
Yeah. You can tell the difference, huh?
Yeah. I'm smoking a 8-pound grass-fed brisket in the morning.
Right.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And so the reason for this is that you're working your way towards a men's physique competition at the end of this year. Why would you want to put yourself through that? And and what's that entail, dude?
So I started working out at a place called Roswell Barbell when my wife and I still lived in Roswell. And I used to be a competitive CrossFit athlete in my early 20s.
Yep.
I used to compete in the opens and all that and competitions. And I was super fit. I was like 7% body fat. And then I got in my 20s, loved partying and all that. I got kind of lazy.
Yeah.
And then I got married to my best friend, the love of my life. I had a beautiful baby boy. And I was like, all right, now I think I need to focus some time on me so that I can recharge for being, an even better husband, an even better father. I was like, I need something for me. And Ray, you know this.
Yeah.
And Rick, this, having stepchildren and your wife, you need something for yourself. Like when you're so busy, when you're, dealing with a crying baby in the middle of the night, and when you're both exhausted and you're still trying to maintain your marriage and keep things spunky and fun, and then focusing on your career, you're like, I just need something for myself. Right.
Right.
And so I got a membership at Roswell Barbell, and I just went in there. And I've worked out with kettlebells my entire life. Even when I was being lazy, I would still work out some, but I just miss training with like-minded people. So I was going and I was lifting and I was, trimming up. I was gaining more muscle. And I have a few buddies that, I used to compete in CrossFit with that are now in the bodybuilding world. And so I was talking to them and they were like, dude, just do it. Just do it. A year of no fun, a year of very limited of this. I mean, this is my first glass of wine. I don't know how long.
Yeah. But that's important too. It's important too.
And so, I just dove into it. And then we moved over here to Cumming and I got a big ass garage. And I'm like, I want to turn this into a gym. And I have. It is outfitted with everything and that I could want and love it. Wake up in the morning, make a cup of coffee, walk right to the garage and just train. And
that's awesome.
So it entails big shoulders, big chest, small waist, V cut, 6-pack.
Yeah.
All natural.
I got a good buddy of mine in St. Louis that's a heavy, he's a strong man. He does the strong man.
Yeah.
Like he's.
Oh, I love that.
He even, when we were in 8th grade, he always had that physique where he had that V. And I was like.
That's called genetics, boys.
It was genetics. But he kept it going and him and his wife both do it. And they enter contests all the time. So what do you weigh?
I weigh I weigh 240 right now. I got to get down to about 215, 220.
And how tall are you?
6'1.5".
That's what I'm trying to do is just size you up a little bit, just in case something ever goes down. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, as a wrestler, I'm going for your knees.
I know.
I'm taking you down.
We might need.
But my 240 right now. It has. I've been gaining muscle like crazy, just because I quit my job and I had money saved up.
So what are you going for? Are you going for bulk or are you going for cut? Are you going for
cut? You want to have. So like in men's physique bodybuilding, we wear board shorts that come down to almost our knees, right? So the legs still have to be trimmed, they have to be defined, but there's not as much focus on that. It's more about the V cut, the big chest, big shoulders.
Yeah.
And I got about 3 Abbeys showing so far, so I got to get at least 3 more.
That's what I would be doing too. I mean, I go for like the cut.
Yeah.
I don't want to be big. I would never be big. It's not my genetics. I'm only 160 pounds, so.
Yeah, I'm coming in.
I can still beat his ass, I think.
Hey, dude, I'm
not quite sure.
I'm 195 with a wrestling background.
That grapple me down. I don't know.
But I am eating about 250, 300 grams of protein a day right now, and about 4,000 calories a day.
Wow.
Oh. Well, so you're in the kind of bulk up phase to then do the lean and cut. How are you going to go about the lean and cut thing? As a wrestler, I used to cut weight, and I hated everybody I saw, hated everything I did.
Yep.
I just hated everything.
Yeah, it makes you a dick. Our son did it. He was through high school.
I love eating healthy. I love chicken breast and rice and maybe some broccoli. Maybe
I'm cool with all that.
I love that. Or like piece of salmon and a baked potato. I love that. So as long as I can have a beer or a glass of wine every now and then, I'm fine with. I don't need the sweets. I don't need the bread. Or I love clean eating and. My wife and I both love it, and that's how we're raising our son. To eat good, and
that's good.
As long as I can have my indulgence.
And that's the thing too, is that everything in moderation. I think has been a saying like all through history.
I never learned the word moderation until.
I'm sorry, Rick.
No, go ahead.
I'm saying, isn't that the easiest thing to say, hardest thing to do? Everything in moderation.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Is that I didn't learn that word until my 40s.
Yeah, just do it in moderation, and then it's like, well, that's easier said than done.
Bringing it back to a song, "Blinded by the Light," but that's where the fun is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's where I've always lived. I've always been blinded by the light.
Yeah. Well, it goes with the territory of what we do, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does. But
So,
it's
so yeah, I wanted something for myself and just time to focus on me, blare my heavy metal.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
do admittedly listen to Sirius XM all the time. Jose
yeah,
Mangan is a friend, and on Liquid Metal, so I'm listening to Liquid Metal all the time.
yeah. That's awesome.
And then just focus on my training. Like it's just me when I'm in there. I'm doing my thing, and so I just wanted something
Yeah,
to do this competition, even though I'm miserable a lot of the
yeah,
times.
yeah,
And I just wanted something to accomplish for me, and then I wanted that accomplishment for me to be an inspiration for my son one day,
yeah,
to be like, because I want us to work out together. I want us to be
yeah,
a healthy, happy family.
That's
And
good, man.
it's amazing how everything changes when you become a parent,
yeah,
and y'all know this. And it's just every perspective changes. And like I came home today with my son after picking him up from daycare, and my wife was doing a work thing, and instead of turning on the PGA Championship like I wanted to, I washed the bottles. I got I played with my son, and
yeah.
then I put him to bed, and then I came down and I just completely forgot about PGA Championship and started making myself dinner. It's weird. Your brain works.
That's a good thing. No,
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
find that over the next, I mean, literally 15 years, in your case 17 years, these 17 years are going to go by so fast.
Oh yeah.
And your son is probably going to be doing something amazing when he's 18 years old, and you're going to have to send him off into the world.
Yeah.
And you'll be a proud papa. And
Well, it sounds like you're a really good dad.
Yeah.
I didn't have the
Oh,
greatest
thank you.
dad, but if you keep on the track that you're on, it sounds like you got it going on.
yeah,
I
I
get
like
that,
to
man.
hear that. I like to hear stories like this.
yeah,
I had a very financially supportive father. I didn't have a very emotionally
yeah,
available father, but
Too-
my dad provided everything. He was a doctor, he gave us everything we needed,
Hmm.
And more. Never wanted for anything, and spent time with us when he could, but he wasn't always emotionally there.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, well, it's almost a little
I
more important, to be honest. But
yeah,
100%. And I always want my son to know how much I love him, and that
Yeah.
he can tell me anything, and that it's okay to talk about how you're feeling,
Yeah.
and you don't need to feel like, oh, this is unmanly, because I
Yeah.
don't think that.
right, I don't either.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Good dad.
So what's the next steps career-wise with you?
Oh yeah,
You're doing the Speak to Me public speaking business right now. What are you doing with that?
yeah. I just got done narrating my first audiobook.
That
too,
is
Bob.
awesome.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, 433 pages.
Wow.
Wow.
It was called Anime Impact. It's by a man named Chris Stuckman. And so I narrated the whole thing. And it was about freaking Japanese animation.
Wow. Wow.
I had to try to pronounce so many Japanese words that I could. Then I had to go do the pickup session, like the redos
Yeah,
of things
yeah.
that the quality control team found wrong. It was like 274 things.
Wow. So-
And
Is there a go-to for enunciation of words like that you would go to? I mean, with the days of Chat GPT and all this type of stuff, is there some sort of
I am not advanced enough for Chat GPT. I still just go into Google and be
Gotcha.
like, how to pronounce so and so.
Gotcha. And
And
Google will speak it, right? Is there like a C?
Well,
Yeah,
you'll
but-
hear a version of it.
that's the English translation. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to get like a true Japanese pronunciation of a Japanese word,
Yeah.
you got to hear an author saying it or
Yeah.
someone saying it on YouTube. Because like
Right.
the AI on Google Translate could be like, nah, 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 nah.
That's right.
And then the actual pronunciation is 100% different.
Sure.
Yeah, for instance, there's a road right down the street from our house called Univetter Road. And you stick it in your phone, it's like, turn left on Univetter.
Yeah.
It's
right.
like, what the heck did you just say?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Yeah. So
No,
it's
so-
a public speaking. Well, you did the book. You're doing the book thing. Is that
Yeah.
something you recorded at your house?
No, I did it with a company. I went into their studios. They're in Decatur.
Okay.
And so I went over there for several sessions, and it was the best, man. I loved it. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of audiobooks,
Yeah.
and so have me narrating one, that was pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not into anime at all. I wasn't before I did this, narrated this book. And then after narrating it, maybe it caused some interest in anime. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever watch anime, but it was fun knowing that, people will listen to this book and that
Are you going to carry on with doing that?
Yeah, do more.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love
Because
to.
I feel like I have
more.
kind of a sexy voice. I might jump into that. And not
It's
play
harder
drums
than you
so
think,
much,
though,
you know?
isn't it?
I'm just teasing. No, if it's is it lucrative? I mean, is it?
Oh, it's very lucrative.
Yeah.
It's it pays very well, and it's fun. It's just there's so many people trying to do all kinds of voiceover work
Oh, is that right?
Right.
right now I
Saturated.
definitely consider it more of a side hustle than anything.
No kidding.
But I'll tell you what, going back to now having to speak to me and the audiobook work, if it wasn't for my wife, I mean, her like unconditional support of knowing I wanted to make a change in my radio career and me feeling like I was done with where I was at, and I was ready to move on. I was ready to see what else was out there. Her unconditional support, she was like, do it, go. And I remember it was the day before I was leaving to go meet her in Melbourne, Florida for our little weekend getaway for our anniversary. The day before, I sent her a text. She was at work on a broker event in Florida. I was meeting up with her down there. I'm like, babe, I'm doing it. I'm quitting. She's like, you're joking. And I typed up the resignation letter. I gave it the next day, and then I headed to the airport and got on my plane to go to the beach.
That's beautiful, though. I mean,
and it was the best weekend ever.
Yeah, I mean,
because of that.
And that only happens because you found a teammate in life that you bounce the ideas off back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, go ahead and do it. And then you feel nervous about actually doing it, and you don't do it, and then, you still have the green light to do it, and then you actually did it, and then got to go celebrate. That's a life event.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was surreal because I was at that station for 9 years.
Yeah.
Or at that company for 9 years. I wasn't with the station for 9 years, but the company.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, like resigning, it was just, and that's not a lot. That's a thing not a lot of people in my business get to do. Like, a lot of DJs, they either
they get
fired because they have a good gig, or they find another gig.
Yeah.
And like if you're in Atlanta radio, the top 10 market, you're not done with the job unless you get fired or find something better, which is, very seldom that find something better than Atlanta or something like that.
Yeah.
And so usually they get fired and then they have to start looking for the job. Then they have to start freaking out. I was lucky enough. Thank you. My wife just brought me another glass of wine.
Your wife, Aisha, is awesome, right?
She's a good wife.
Aisha, yeah, she's walking inside right now.
Thank you, Aisha.
Anytime.
You played the hand of cards your own way,
Yeah, it was surreal. Like to walk out of there, and I have nothing but the best respect for Cumulus, and I wish nothing but success for all the stations there. I just felt like it was time. All right, I've got to move on. I'm about to be 34. I got to see what else is out there. All I know is this comfort of Rock 100.5.
Yeah.
And, I respectfully handed my resignation in. It was a great parting. It was mutual respect all over. And, oh my gosh, I flew down to Melbourne, Florida, Satellite Beach. And I get there and I go to the tiki bar and I order a beer. That was the best beer of my life.
Yeah, that was a special one, right?
I just for the first time was doing things my way in a long time, and that beer it could have been $3,000 and I still would have paid for it.
Yeah, right. I agree. Well, are you still doing anything in the local area? In regards to you're still the rock ambassador, dude. Mm-hmm. So are you still doing anything? Would you like to continue to be involved in the scene?
Rolling on the river.
Yeah. Because the reason I ask is
Rolling on the river.
I know what you're saying there. Um, is this something we can talk about? Or the reason I was pitching this is a selfish reason because Hope's Anchor has a gig
Shocker.
next Wednesday. And we were just talking about who is gonna bring us on stage. And I was like,
Dude, I will always intro Hope's Anchor.
yeah, let's come on with it. Well, let's talk off the air and see if we can't make something happen. I'd love to have you bring us on. And we're doing a show at Mad Life in Woodstock. The train will roll from my house here and come in. We can ride together and spend the event together, and it'd be a blast, man.
When is it?
Next Wednesday, the 24th.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
next Wednesday the 24th, and it's a early show. Load in at 4:30. Shows starts at 7:30. 2 acoustic acts going on first. We will hit about 8:30, and we're doing a 1-hour set. We got new material that we're gonna do. It's gonna be a great
it's
show.
amazing. Their
Yeah.
new material
I'm
is
always
killer.
wanting to see y'all live.
Yeah.
I always want to see y'all live.
So
Yes, let's definitely talk off air.
Let's talk about
I was. My question is probably an off air, but who just left 100.5 and went to California? I was friends with them, but not
That
friends.
was
I worked for.
Say again.
Jason Bailey.
Oh, Bailey went.
Yeah, when I was working with Fozzy, he was like he would come to the shows and introduce people onto the stage. I don't think that's who it is I'm thinking of though.
Y'all, can I take like a bathroom break?
We got to actually wrap up here.
Yeah, let's land the plane.
Yeah, let's land the plane. I got another one at 9:00. But man, we're so happy to have you on, Jackson.
It was a pleasure meeting you too, by the way.
Yeah,
dude. And the rock, just really wrapping up or whatever. If I can do a monologue type thing right here.
Go.
The Atlanta rock scene has given me more than I could possibly imagine. And my homebrew show, it wasn't about me in any way. It was just about every week that I was able to bring a new band, or maybe a band that had been on before, a new song from them at least. I was able to bring that to the guy or woman in their car headed home or going somewhere, and they were able to hear this music and know that music came from here.
Right.
Like that was insane. Yeah. Like I'd go and a lot of bands would post about this, and I never understood it. I never understood why they cared about this, but a lot of bands would post a picture on the website, our station's website on the stream. And they would take a picture of the playlist and say, hey, we're coming up after Ozzy, or we're coming up after Godsmack. Like, I never understood why that was such a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then I guess I got out of it. And I realized that's got to be freaking cool.
It's really cool, yeah.
Like a song
it's every musician's dream.
Yeah. We're sitting in the room that created that music that you're talking about, and it meant so much to us as artists to, hey, we're coming up after, whatever song it was that was a hit, and here's Hope's Anchor with.
It is. It's like that. It's like I've been in bands that opened up for Missing Persons, Autograph, Artemis Pyle from Lynyrd Skynyrd. So, and I'm 54 years old, and I'm still never ever gonna let those. Those are like big moments in my life. Yeah. I've walked down the beach in Haiti with Anthrax. I've done. I could go on. It's just like, It's if you're a musician, it goes so deep. You're born with it. You can't get rid of it. It didn't. It's not like you picked it. We've talked about this. It picked you.
Yeah.
It's something you have to do, whether it works, whether it fails or doesn't fail. You still keep doing it. Whether you're making money or not making money, you still keep doing it. It's the blessing is finding a wife that will put up with your shit and still doing
And
it.
support you.
I got my sugar mama.
Yeah. But that's why we need guys like you too.
But
to
exactly,
do it,
that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah.
It's like, to have guys like you and Ray and I trying to do the same thing that you did on a larger stage.
Yeah.
We're trying to do it podcast form and trying to
Dude,
build it.
Killing it. Y'all were so well prepared. Y'all were amazing. And the Atlanta rock scene, local music, what that did for me. And anytime local music can get on the radio, whatever time it may be, but especially at 8:30 on a week, freaking
prime.
It was a huge win, and I hope it made some kind of impact. And that's when I quit, when I resigned. I'm not done in Atlanta radio, by the way.
I'd like to hear this.
That's good. So we're about to hear something, right?
I heard what he was singing earlier.
Yeah.
It
sounds like a lead up.
I don't think I'm going to do it in as big a capacity as I did, because I got a lot of things going really well right now.
Yep.
But it may become bigger. I don't know. If it does, I'll be open to it. But right now, it fits well into what I'm doing right now. And, my business is going really well. Turns out a lot of people want to learn how to speak in public.
Yeah. Imagine that.
And my audiobook work is going well. And I love being home, like at the end of the day, when my son gets home or when I pick him up. I love that. Like being a dad is just the number one thing to me right now. I love being able to pay the bills and all that, but being a father it is the number one priority right now. And so, new thing coming up, Atlanta's Rock Ambassador is not done in Atlanta radio.
Yes.
Homebrew might be back
What?
on airwaves in Atlanta sometime, and I'm just kind of getting started.
I love it.
The Rock 100.5 was an amazing ride. I worked with amazing radio talent there.
Yep.
And this new venture, this new chapter, I think is going to be equally as great, if not better. And equally as great is all I could hope for, because Rock 100.5 meant everything to me, and what I was able to do there. And I just hope that local bands, got something out of being on Homebrew.
Yeah, absolutely. We did.
Are you at liberty to go any further with that, or is that it?
With the new venture?
Yeah.
I got to pass the drug test first.
Right. Hey, he's got to pass the brisket test.
Okay.
He's the
Fair enough.
He's the brisket ambassador.
Well, I'm super excited to hear that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Well, we want to be on for sure.
I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, we got to have you over.
Dude,
I know we're gonna hit it off.
I feel like I rambled too much.
Nah,
and
don't we all?
Yeah.
Gotten into, like Rick, Anthrax, may not be the most popular opinion, the most underrated band of the Big Four.
Hey,
wow.
It's all I know is that.
Y'all want to know my listing of the Big Four?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Let's go.
It is the almighty Metallica, for and always. And then it is Slayer, which, here's the funny thing. Metallica is my favorite of the Big Four, but Slayer is my favorite band.
Okay. I understand
I don't know
that.
how that makes sense, but
I get that.
Then it's Anthrax, and then please can we throw Megadeth off?
I love Megadeth. Are you kidding?
Symphony of Destruction was on my repeat play.
Yeah.
And probably from 97 to 99.
I get my drum heads from Drover.
Nice.
I do. That's who I get my drum heads from. Yeah, his son.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I don't know why I couldn't. I've never been a Megadeth fan. I mean, give me Slayer, Metallica, and Anthrax all day long.
Yeah, man.
Megadeth, I just never got into. I mean, I would rather have Exodus.
Well, it's like, okay, as a drummer, I of course love Rush, right? But you either love Geddy Lee or you hate him.
Yeah.
And Dave Mustaine kind of has one of those voices.
Yeah.
Where you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
And the music and their mixes and everything is completely different than when you hear them, you know it's them, because it's like a really tight, dry, compressed.
You know what's funny? One of my favorite bands of all time is Volbeat, And I couldn't stand Volbeat at first. I was like, this singer is annoying.
Yeah.
I hate his voice. He's they're Danish,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't stand that voice. And then I kept listening to them, and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. Yeah.
I love Volbeat.
We just went and saw Gojira, and I had no
Gojira.
idea. Yeah, I had no idea what I was in for.
I kept telling him,
And-
wait till you hear these guys.
Oh my goodness,
Oh.
it's unreal stuff. Jackson, I just got a text that my 9 o'clock is not quite ready, so we got time. If you'd like to go, do what you have to do. Rick and I can talk about just random facts of rock and roll, and you do your thing there.
All right, let's we'll do this, and then what was I going to talk about? We got a lot more to talk about. We're
Yes.
getting into the,
Yes, we do.
How much more time we
I'll
got?
be,
30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got some time.
all right, I will be right back.
All right,
Okay?
sounds
good.
Like 2 minutes.
All right.
The man.
Yes, you must keep it on.
Yes, that's
Keep on keeping on.
well. I was just telling.
You know what story I realized I never finished?
What's that?
How I came to be at Rock 100.5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I was at Georgia State University in downtown Atlanta.
Yep.
Was doing the internship class, and I was interning for 680 The Fan because I wanted to continue my sports radio career.
Right.
And they didn't have an opening and all that. And then the country station, then Kicks 1015,
Yep.
they had an opening for a remote tech, a promotions person on the street, set up the tent at concerts and all that. And I did that and got really good at it. But I was like, all right, I want to continue my on air. And I'm like, I guess I'll go on air for Kicks 1015, a country station.
Yeah.
And I had listened to country music, obviously growing up in North Georgia, but
Sure.
rock was my thing. My mother was worked for Capricorn Records in the 70s
Wow.
and was friends with the Allman Brothers and Marshall Tucker bands and
Oh,
all
wow,
that.
that's cool.
And heard some crazy stories.
I'm sure.
And so I'd always had this love for rock music, and my dad raised me on, 70s and late 60s rock. I mean, Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick is my favorite album of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, just turn that album on and just let it go, and I am in a trance.
Have you side note heard their newest record? It's called Rock.
I have not. I got the book on
Who's
it.
new record?
Yeah, it's their
I
new,
interviewed.
new record
I
called
interviewed
Rock
the band.
Flute. Rock Flute.
You know what?
Jethro Tull?
Yeah, Jethro Tull's new record, Rock Flute, is amazing.
Wow.
But continue on
Rock
that.
Flute.
Yeah. ROKFLUTE with these crazy symbols above the U's.
Man, I interviewed Ian Anderson one time, and good Lord, now I'm thinking back to all the interviews I did with just legendary artists. I mean, my gosh, I interviewed David Coverdale over the phone.
Yeah.
And he kept calling me baby the whole time.
Yeah, darling.
Blasting obscenities. And he ended the thing with, I gotta go, Sweet Prince, but it's been fun.
Yeah.
And I tried to convince everybody to call me Sweet Prince after that. And,
From now on.
and then I'm thinking back to like when I sat in a room at the radio station with Rick Ocasek from the Cars.
Wow. Before.
And he came in because he was done with the Cars, but he had a painting career. He was an artist, and he had a gallery at Phipps Plaza, and I was interviewing him about that. And he came into the radio station, and this is what every radio personality wants in an interview. It went from the start of it, Q&A that we're just asking, question answer, and it went to a conversation among friends.
Right.
It was the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
And when he died, a lot of radio stations around the country used my interview with him because it was one of the last interviews he did before he died, which was extremely emotional for me.
Yeah.
Because after that interview, he was like, hey, I got to get, the gallery tonight at Phipps Plaza. Want you to come and be my special guest.
Wow.
And so I took my brother, and we got there at the Phipps Plaza, and the guy takes us back to Rick's room, and we sat back there for 45 minutes drinking fancy ass wine.
Yep.
and just talking music for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was not, I mean, it wasn't on air, it wasn't being recorded. We could just speak our piece, and it was just the most incredible. I would put it up there with any conversation a radio personality has ever had with a major music artist.
Yeah.
I would put it up there because it was just so unreal and so personal and so like I left thinking that's my best friend.
Right.
One of your surreal moments in your lifetime.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think that you're making a good point, and you know, it's been proven now that the long form format can create those environments in which you end up just having conversations and with your best friends, kind of a thing. You know, such as this. You know, we're talking to you, and at this point, it's like, hey, let's go get barbecue after this. Let's go. You know, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're looking for. Is that the big boy right there?
No, this is my dog.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know why she's doing this. She's been sitting there quiet this entire time. It's not why.
What kind of dog?
Yeah, what kind of dog?
Crazy ass.
Crazy ass dog.
Oh, yeah, that's a good breed.
That's a good breed. I think you breed those, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get good money for those crazy ass.
Chucker, what are you doing?
I'm sorry. That's funny. But yeah, the long form format or the off air type of thing. The off air type of thing where you can just talk freely and nobody thinks you're recording them and you're actually just, you know, having conversation. That's where the magic is, you know. It's
100%, man. Like, you know, these artists, they are recorded constantly. Every word they say is going to be completely scrutinized.
Yep.
If one reporter or someone listening to it takes it the wrong way and they go on the internet saying blah, 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 said blah, blah, blah.
Or how they want to take it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like what I've always loved as a radio personality is the chance and opportunity to get to know musicians and to talk freely, to talk about the industry, the highs and the lows, to talk about the playing live and, you know, all that comes with playing live, because I don't think audiences actually know what you guys go through up there.
Yeah.
From not just a physical standpoint, an emotional standpoint, a mental standpoint. Like, you know, a band, if they're doing their job, they're almost robotic on stage to where the audience feels like they're almost watching a movie, to where it's all like been rehearsed enough to where everything's perfect, to where everything goes off without a flash.
Yeah.
Like that's what they almost go into it expecting.
Right.
But they don't know that everything, like the guitar you're playing that. It's not a click track.
Right.
Because no local band has enough money to pay for, you know, just like audio overdubs like that. And so you're playing the guitar live, you're playing the drums live, you're singing live, like, and you know, you're in your head the whole time. You're playing the guitar, you're playing the drums, and you're like, oh my God, do I sound good? Do I sound good? Is this right?
Don't screw up. Don't screw up.
Yeah.
Don't screw up.
Well, you get to a point, I think, after a while where you've got your muscle memory for one, you've got your experience for two, you've got, you know, with age comes wisdom, right? And you know, like me as a drummer, I've learned to play to the point to where if I do screw something up, which never happens.
Yeah, act like it never happened.
To get that out there.
Yeah.
But if something does go a little sideways that you didn't expect,
and it will,
you know how to deal with it without making it look like something went sideways, and therefore nobody knows it happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're right. With the younger players, you know, they're hungry and they want to get out there and get signed. It's the whole point. It's trying to get a record deal, and things aren't this. They aren't like that anymore. It's not. You don't get signed where okay you just got signed for a 5 record a deal. It just doesn't exist anymore.
And now you're in debt for 25 years.
Right. And they own you.
Yeah.
You have
name and likeness.
Even if your song. Actually, here's a good example. Well, not a good example of younger players, but like Boston, one of my all-time favorite bands, one of the bands that made me want to play drums. Third Stage, when that record came out, they did that just because they were under contract to have to come out with that record. And it's a kick-ass record. If you're a musician, especially into any kind of progressive rock, which they were one of the pioneers of progressive rock. Would you not agree?
I'd agree, yeah.
Okay. So that's a really,
he went to
really
MIT.
good record.
I think it's progressive.
Yeah. It's a really good record. I mean, it really is. So with that said, I lost track of what I was going to say next.
Well, I think what you were saying was like artists that do get signed end up getting signed into contracts that end up maybe not so good for them.
Right.
A little known guy, Prince, had to change his name to a symbol.
Great example.
And just shove out some material to finish his contract in order so he could be free.
Yeah.
And that is truth in the industry.
Yeah.
If you go down that road, being an independent, these days, if you can figure out the social medias, the promotion, the YouTube videos, the reels, the clips, and do all of that and still be an artist, you could probably do something independent. I struggle with I still just want to play my guitar. I still just want to write songs. And now I have to be the promoter of this gig. I have to go get the gig. So I got to be the booking agent. I got to be the promoter. Then I got to do the socials. And then, it's just so heavy that by the time I get on the stage, Jackson, and that's the easy part. I've rehearsed it up. I know in my head, I'm like, don't mess up. This part's hard. Just, it went good. Yeah. But the emotion that goes into doing this live and actually now doing everything else around it, it's becoming a bit much.
It takes everything in you to make just a show happen. Everything.
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally, physically,
everything. Yeah.
That's why having a love for the purity of music these days is the toughest challenge for anyone, even just now getting into the music industry.
Yeah.
Like, you guys can remember when it was still pure.
Right.
And when it was just writing music and playing live shows and all your heart and attention going to that, the trouble of a lot of young musicians keeping love for the purity right now is everything you said, Ray. It's the promoting the show, it's doing the socials, filming the practice gigs, whatever it may be. I know the band Trivium, I don't know how they do it because Matt Cahafey, they stream every rehearsal on Twitch. They stream every show live free on Twitch. They do this and that. And they're just like, they're one of those bands that you look at and you're like, all right. I mean, they're one of the few bands that can do that. And it is tough and it's hard. And maybe it's easy because they had the success before they had to start doing that.
Right.
And a lot of bands coming up right now, I don't think they're ready for it. They grew up,
they just don't know how to do it. I mean, it's a hard thing to figure out how to do. So we've got somebody. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we've got somebody getting ready to come on. The band's called Sixth Sense, and Robbie is the singer. He used to be in Stuck Mojo. His wife is in a band called The Agonist, who just recently have called it quits after 10 years, and they're one of the greatest bands in that genre that I've ever heard. It's along the same. I won't mention the band. It's hard. I don't know how kids are gonna from here on try to. Where's music gonna go? Like, where's it gonna come from now on? It's almost impossible for where we're at now. So how's it gonna go for
AI? AI is gonna be your musicians.
I kind of think that's the way it's going, and it's pitiful. It's
like these kids are growing up in the age of social media, and they have been for a long time. Like, they're in the age of social media, and they're probably great at promoting their band on social media, but they didn't grow up in a time playing music where you just had to put your heart and soul into the lyrics, into the live show.
Yeah.
So they're like
trying
to balance the two, but going more with the one they know, social media.
Yeah.
And they forget about the purity of music and purity of playing live.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I'm actually in the middle of watching a Jelly Roll podcast.
Yeah, me too.
And he was talking about what the song "Fire and Rain" from I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Who sang it?
Paul.
Brain fart. That and Jim Croce, a Croce song, and Fire and Rain. Who sang it? Anyway,
I love him.
Yeah, and he's just talking about the purity of the acoustic guitar and the voice.
Thought I'd see you
James
again.
Taylor.
Thank you.
The purity of the voice and the storytelling of the song got him through so many different periods of his life. Those types of things, I think the organic songwriting segment is...
It's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
Well, it's not over, because
I think it's over.
I think there's going to be the few that creep to the top, but for the most part, everything is processed and polished.
What do you mean creep to the top?
I think a guy like Stapleton doing the national anthem with one amp on the field with a microphone in front of it, and it absolutely killed it. Those type of players and people, songwriters, are still going to.
But do you think younger kids appreciate that?
No,
that's what I'm saying.
No, they don't.
No.
They don't know. They don't know what went into that guy's life. They don't know what he's doing. They don't know how he's getting his tone. They don't know anything about anything except how to press buttons. And this button does this. This button does that.
Yeah. Well, is there an artist, Jackson, out there, a young artist, music-wise, that I always say this, that makes you think music is going to be okay? Is there a young artist that you're like, wow, okay? I mean, if that kind of stuff can come out of a young player, we're good.
I think it was the first part of 2020, and a guy named Des Rocks, DESROCS,
okay.
Des Rocks. He was opening for the Glorious Sons.
Oh yeah.
At a small venue in Atlanta. I can't even remember. And I know it's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know why I can't think of it.
Eastern or
Dixie
No, kind of. I'm gonna think of it sometime, some point there.
That's fine.
And anyway, small venue, Des Rocks from Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
And he's wearing the wife beater, and he's moving around, he's dancing, he's just freaking excited.
Yeah.
He was opening for the Glorious Sons.
Right.
And the Glorious Sons, it was a kind of back-to-back artist of a show that answers your question.
Yeah.
What is a type of band that I feel will keep rock carrying on? And it's Des Rocks and the Glorious Sons. It's those types of dudes. Like, Des Rocks has such a passion for playing live, and got lost in moving around the stage, and I just respected it so much. And then he came into the crowd and was taking pictures with people, and was so nice. And he's actually playing. I think he's playing the festival that I was supposed to be at this weekend, Welcome to Rockville.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, Rockville.
Now, I was supposed to be at that festival this weekend, and then yeah, Des Rocks is open. I think playing one of the stages, but the Glorious Sons too. They're a band that has made it big.
Yeah,
that just loves playing live. And what other one besides that? Who did I hear? Oh, I think Jelly Roll. You said Jelly Roll earlier.
Yeah.
I love his story.
Yeah.
I love how he has done what few artists have done and had hits in multiple genres on radio.
Yep. Country,
like
rap.
that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he had a hit on country radio. He had a hit on rock radio, and he made a shit ton of money from it, and I respect it.
Yeah,
and it's like,
who else is like that?
That write a song that so many different demographics can relate with.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
yeah. There's somebody else that's that same when he first came out. Who's got the tattoos on his face? He was just unbroken.
Yeah. He just fell down on stage a couple of times.
Yeah.
Actually. Post Malone.
I love Post Malone.
He's
like. When he first came out, I'm like, who the fuck is this bozo?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I gave the guy a chance. And then later on started seeing him play guitar. Then I started seeing him playing rock songs. I'm like, wow, this guy's really got some serious talent.
Yeah.
He's good.
Oh, yeah.
Now I dig the shit out of him. I think he's a cool dude.
Yep.
Relaxed, real. You know, I love everything about Post Malone.
I think the point of all of the artists that you just mentioned, authenticity.
Yes.
And actual talent.
Yeah.
They're all instrumentalists. They can play. They're writing. But
there's a ton of those bands around here, as we've found out. So the idea is, how do we get them? You're not here you're here, but you're not doing what you were doing. So how do we
break a band
without Ray and I buying a venue that only plays on weekends and local bands? But even if we had that, how would we get people there to see the bands?
Yeah.
And get the bands, not necessarily, because the bands like that don't necessarily care if they're even getting paid. They just want to be seen.
Right.
And get some kind of repertoire going. And once they get that happening, things will start happening for them, and they'll start getting record deals, or not record deals, but getting offers to jump on small tours, or without having to spend 10 grand
to get on
to jump onto a tour, with which I know bands who've done that,
I mean, look at, do y'all know Like Machines?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The Stir.
Yeah.
They toured with me with Fozzy when my first tour in 2016. They were with us.
And
I love those guys.
Tanner had Madison Studios, and
he still has it, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying at the time, and I don't know what helped. I mean, they had talent. Before they broke up, and I mean, Tanner was just badass. Excuse me.
Well, I don't think they broke up necessarily, did they?
Like Machines?
You what?
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily broke up. They just changed names, right?
Well, they
still
went
have
from
Cheney Brandon on drums, and
Like Machines. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
All right, I'll look it up.
But before that, they were the Stir.
Right, but they still have Cheney Brandon on drums, and Andrew, we called him Wookie.
Yeah, but Andrew's not in it anymore.
Oh, I did not know that.
No, that's current to my knowledge.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Huh. He was kind of their sound.
Yeah.
Current to my knowledge. I mean, Andrew had this. Man, he had everything you looked for in a front man.
Yeah, 100%.
He had the scratchy, screamy voice.
Yep.
They just moved around the right way. They had the right type of songs.
Yeah.
It was just, it's like it's your 1 in a million shot type of thing.
Yeah, they were a great band. They really are a great band.
They had it. They had
Sweet,
it. I watched them.
Nice guys.
I brought them on stage at their Pop Evil show when they were playing at the Buckhead Theater.
Yeah.
And they were opening up for Pop Evil, and I brought them on stage. And I mean, they were just, it just brought you in.
Yeah.
With the songs they had written. And yeah, it's your 1 in a billion. I don't know if you know who Tetrarch is.
I haven't heard that one.
So they're a metal band signed to a big label, Napalm. And they get a lot of play on Octane, Liquid Metal on Sirius XM. They're doing big things, and they started here in Atlanta, and they're young.
Yeah. Huh. Well, it's it always still comes down to no matter how good your material is, how good your band is, it's just a lottery ticket, right time at the right place, right person that sees you.
Yeah.
It's just life. I mean, that's a life thing, you know. I'm trying to, I'm trying to win a house on HGTV right now. It's a lottery ticket,
Yeah, man.
It really is, man. This is the part about not being in person. We cut each other off.
It's hard. I know. Go ahead. What I got to say is not important. Go. You're our guest.
God, now you made me
lottery
forget
ticket.
Yeah, I fucked you up.
Yeah. It's it is just that, because the culture today, like when the average person that works a job during the day and then they go home at Friday night and they're thinking about going out, they're thinking about just where to go drink. They're thinking about where they can get messed up at, where are they going to have
home.
Yeah. And they're not thinking about, what band is playing at Smith's Old Bar tonight? What band is playing at Star Bar or the Eastern or whatever it may be? That is not the first thing on their mind. And it's sad, and I hate it, and I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But that's the reality, is that your person that has no involvement in the music industry whatsoever, that isn't on the radio, doesn't do marketing or for it, or isn't a band, their first go-to on a Friday night is not who's playing at their local music venue.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the sad part. And that used to be different. I think
definitely used to be different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if that is their thought on their mind, it's, I want to go see the Chicago tribute band, or on Friday night, I want to go see the I always joked, I'm seriously thinking and considering I'm going to do a Men Without Hats tribute band, and I'm just going to play Safety Dance in 17 different genres. I'm going to do a reggae version, I'm going to do a rock version, I'm going to do the regular version.
Who's going to play drums for you?
A machine.
Okay.
I don't need
say, because it sure as hell ain't going to be me.
But I mean, that's the point. We joke about it, but the only thing you're going to see in a music venue on a weekend is going to be a tribute band, and so that's why I was saying, hey, come out and bring us out on a Wednesday night.
And those fuckers get $40 a ticket.
Yeah, they get all the,
which I guess I can't. I mean,
can't knock it.
You can't knock it because it's working.
It's weird that even the younger generation, if you look at I don't even remember what the youngest generation is right now, but I'm talking like people in their late teens, their early 20s. Nostalgia is a real thing, man.
Yeah.
They're like, they'll be like, oh, I love Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
They're the best. They're edgy. They're cool. They're retro.
Yeah.
And then if you say, hey, you want to go see this brand new band tonight, this local band, they'll be like, why would I want to go see that?
Right.
Like,
that's the problem.
There's such a nostalgia right now, and that's why like records are making a comeback, and why every college person wants to own a record player.
Well, so where are all the youngsters going to see bands play? Because they're not going to see the Led Zeppelin tribute bands because they don't know the song. They don't know the music. They're not going to see, I mean, there are the Lady Gaga tributes but there aren't young people going to pay. First of all, they don't have the money to go see them because it costs too much.
I don't know about here in Alpharetta. They got plenty. But they're going to go see Taylor Swift,
I'm not picking on anybody in particular.
They're going to go see Taylor Swift and then get mad at Ticketmaster for screwing up their tickets or whatever that's been going on.
Right.
the big industry on the ticket thing. That's a whole nother conversation on music. But it just comes down to venues that will allow new upcoming artists on their stages.
But they got to give them another night other than a Tuesday, Wednesday. You know what I mean? If they give them there's got to, even if it's once a month, let's do a Saturday or a Friday night, all local talent.
Yeah, local
If
encore.
If I can put that argument to bed right now, if you'll allow me, I will.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, bring it.
Local music has the most uphill battle it could be facing right now. Like, of any time in music, like the modern music industry era, this is the toughest time for a local band to make any headway. Like, unless you have a parent or a best friend in the music industry, or your best friend has already made it, like, local music has a huge uphill battle, and that's just the reality of it. That is, I am Atlanta's rock ambassador through and through. I support these bands no matter what. I am always there to open up a show for you, to buy a ticket to your show, to support you, to put you on my socials. But you have the biggest uphill battle.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is right now in our economy and our time, what band is coming up right now could be the furthest thing possible from people's minds.
That's a good point. Yeah.
When you talk about putting food on your family's table, when you talk about paying your mortgage, maybe you've been laid off or furloughed, whatever the hell it was, for a couple of years, and you're trying to bounce back or all of that. What band is playing their show at a small venue?
Last furthest run.
Yeah, but if you can, but that's the battle, right? I mean, that's the battle. That's and you do have your luckies break through, and you just have to hope that your time is coming up. But for those that grew up in the real world of music, don't you know that? Don't you know you're facing that battle?
Yeah.
Don't you know you're up against, if Godsmack's playing in town the night before your show, you think someone that just spent a couple $100 on a ticket or whatever is gonna spend their next night coming to see a local band?
Yeah,
no,
right. Yeah.
No, they're not.
That's a whole other podcast there on the ticket prices.
Yeah, but not even ticket prices. Main feature legacy band show nights versus, oh man, I need to look at and see who's playing next. I'm playing Wednesday.
Yeah.
So who is playing on Tuesday
or that night?
Thursday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, say, y'all remember when Queen had their show at State Farm Arena, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So say someone spent a couple $100, on a premium seat to go see, Roger May and all of them. Like, did I get that name right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Brian May. Brian May and Roger.
Roger Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor, he's the drummer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
With Adam Lambert.
Yes, that was the one.
Yeah.
Sorry. And someone spent a couple $100 on that on a premium seat, and they just spent their entire Friday night driving to downtown, parking, walking, paying for the drinks and all that, then driving all the way back home to wherever they live. And they're like, all right, we just wasted one weekend night of our, free weekend going to, do all this and see this amazing band. Do we want to go, even though it's only $8, even though it's only $10, do we want to go drive to this venue and see this local band? And the answer is no.
Yeah. No matter how good it is.
Yeah, and y'all are amazing. Y'all are phenomenal. All of I could just rattle off bands in the Atlanta rock scene right now that I've literally gone to shows of, and I've just been floored. I've been like, what did I just see? Like, this is, equally great as a State Farm Arena or Tabernacle show or whatever, equally as great, and like a tenth of the price.
Yeah.
And like, why aren't you here? And it's because they haven't seen you on the news. They haven't read articles about you in the Rolling Stone and like whatever it may be. And I mean, it's sad. Like for someone that's as close to it as I am, knows how great y'all are. And I could talk about it on the radio all the time, but how many times y'all get inundated all day with hearing this product's great?
Yeah,
go buy it.
Yeah,
you need it.
Exactly.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this, Jackson. Let's. You obviously have a list. I mean, we've been doing that. I think this is episode 27 or 8, and you know, we've gone through some locals. We're reaching out to some bands in other cities. You've got a good list. We need to talk off air, and let's get your guys that you know on here, and let's. I mean, all we can do at this point is, you know, this stage is always open for any of those bands to come on and talk about their music. We'll promote whatever their latest song or video is, and I think that's the route we need to go at this point. Is you know, just get the exposure here and try to get this out, and then get on stages, and then also put bills together of bands that we've been networking with several different bands. Like, man, this would be a good lineup.
Yep.
We need a venue. Now that's another story, but you know, we can put together bills and just network, get to know each other, and you know, makes the green room a lot more fun when everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
We got to find out why Flashback Flash ended and why Greco broke up.
Okay, that's homework. Flashback Flash. Okay.
And Greco.
And Greco.
Two of my very dear friends in the Atlanta rock scene.
Okay, well, let's get them on and let's get the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get the dirt.
Yeah. And you know,
I don't want to find why Andrew left Light Machines.
Yeah, I had no idea. So I worked with Fozzy since I started working with him in 2016. I went on tour with him as stage manager, and the Stir was with us. That was the first band that toured with us, and that's how I got to know all those guys. The sweetest guys. I mean, the nicest, most genuine people, around.
They were the second guest I ever had on my podcast.
Yeah. Tanner's super. All of them are. I love all those guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, hey Jackson, we appreciate you coming on, man. Definitely. Let's talk off the air about the upcoming thing on Wednesday, but also I'm gonna have about 8 ounces of that brisket that you were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah.
So so we need to we need to make sure that you know, that happens for sure.
Dude, you come up anytime. I will smoke you whatever you want. I got a big pellet smoker and I got a Blackstone griddle, so I do all.
Yeah, those pellet smokers are the shit.
Yeah,
right? I got one for Christmas last year.
Yeah. Okay. But there's nothing better than smoked meat, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Other than, you know,
he loves meat, is what he meant to say.
I love meat and breakfast and pancakes and stuff on that griddle. That's gonna be an amazing thing.
Oh yeah, man.
So, all right, bud.
Well, guys, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.
It was nice to meet you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Oh, hell yeah, man. And as I always say, rock on and rock hard.
Absolutely. All right, bud. Keep us updated on the professional career.
Yeah, man.
All right, bud. Thanks. Bye.
Later.
You're watching the Original Music Podcast with your hosts Raymond Hems and Rick Gathman.